you can invoke whichever Devi you want. And that Devi, based on her character, will give you what you wish for. Correct? You must have seen so many speakers, you interacted with so many people. There are some who are very subtle, some who are very direct, some who are very aggressive, some who are very passionate, some were very egoistic also. But they all have something to give you. Now you have to have that benevolence and that intelligence to accept what suits you, what is going to work for you. And that is why the Navadurgas will, give you different forms, and you can pick up what you like. You can make a choice. And that is, I think, the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. So Skandamata is your next Devi. You can see Kartikeya on her lap, and it is believed that she has now given birth, and she gives birth to Kartikeya. And Kartikeya is the one who is come into creation because he has to destroy Narakasura. And basically, Skandamata says that every feminine energy in you that knows to love, that knows to nourish, to give care, is a Devi. So whether you are a man or a woman, the very fact that you are a nourisher, a provider, a protector, you have the blessing of Skandamata. And Skandamata in the Tantric philosophy is Chamunda, right? So that is why her Tantric mantra is Om Chamundaye Swaha. So you can repeat it every time you feel that, you're losing out on the motherly feeling. There are many women who feel very, very guilty because they have to leave their children and go and work. There are many people who are not able to because of bad health. Maybe your parents are very old, but you're not able to take care of them. So they say that if you meditate upon the Skandamata, Devi Skandamatai Namaha, Om Devi Skandamatai Namaha, they say that your children or your parents are taken care of. So try it out. This is what our gurus have taught us. And more than anything, I think it teaches you a lot of gratitude and humility and love, this unconditional love that a mother feels for her child, because they say that is the only love that comes unconditionally. Baki sabka hisab kitab hota hai, but this is the only one. So she says that, even if you're illiterate, even if you have no knowledge, you are still a mother. Then you have the same qualities that somebody maybe who's a woman but who's very, very well accomplished will have. So the feeling of motherhood, it surpasses everything. It surpasses color, creed, education, societal hierarchy and everything. Because the mother is the universal mother for all the children that she has, and that's Skandamata. And when you have your child, and what you feel for your child is what Skandamata feels for the entire universe. And so they say that if you pray to her, she is very benevolent, she's very selfless, and she is not somebody who requires a lot of puja, aradhana, a lot of protocol. Just with a good, honest heart, if you seek her, she will shower her blessing on you. And that is why in the Tantric philosophy, she's also known as the goddess of fire, simply because her brilliance is that you cannot come anywhere near her children. She will burn you alive. And that is why when her Ugra Swarupa in the Tantra, she is called as Chamunda. And her Bija mantra, we'll come to the Dasha Mahadhyas and we'll talk about it. But otherwise, her Tantric Bija mantra is Om Chamundaya Swaha. Katyayani. And she is also referred to as the warrior goddess. She was born to Rishi Katyayana. You can see this. She rides on a lion, and she carries a lotus stem. And she is goddess Gauri. So we have to understand that the Navadurgas are 9 forms of Parvati. So don't get confused between Navadurgas and Dasha Mahavidyas. They are totally two different things. correct? So the Nava Durgas are 9 different forms. So she is called, these goddesses are called Brajamandal. So there are all these Nava Durgas belong to the Brajamandal, where every single day they manifest as one form of the woman, right? So after she's given birth to Skandamata, she is now, the child is grown up and now she is moving on to doing her duties and responsibilities. So she is a goddess that they pray for war. So many people who go for war in many lineages, especially in the Rajasthan and the Rajputana areas, they worshipped this form of the Devi for power, for intelligence, and for a lot of efficiency in warfare. So Katyayani is also a little ugra compared to Skandamata, बहुत सौम्य है, and Katyayani थोड़ी सी उग्र है. And there are a lot of Puranic stories on how she was born to Rishi Katyayan and how she meets Shiva and all that, because her Swaroop ko, there has been a different story that has been given so that the mass can understand. The Puranas are basically explaining Vedas, the Brahma Vakyas and the Agama Shastras in common language with simple stories that people can understand. And so in the Sanatana Dharma, everybody must understand that it is really not about, the actual thing that you're reading. It's a lot of metaphor, it's a lot of analogy to explain the powers of the Devi. And so you will have to kind of, read between the lines and to understand and interpret. And you can't read this in isolation. So if you're reading the Puranas, you also have to read the Bhagavad Kathas. We also have to read the Mahavidyas, the Tantras, the Kaula practices for you to understand. So it's a really 360-degree involvement if you want to take up the topic of the divine feminine, of Shakti. And believe me, the more you read and the more you study about it, the more confused you get. And you always feel that you don't know enough. So I probably, as far as the Devi is concerned, I am going through that phase, because there is just so much to kind of absorb. And every time I have my own questions, and if they all actually mean the same. The esoteric meaning of this is that they transcend you to a higher level. But when they are depicted in the way that they are depicted, that you can see that they have a gada, and they have a nose, and they have a kalash, and they have an abhaya mudra. It basically, in every form of Devi, it is said that they come equipped with everything that is required for sustenance, for survival, for progress. And that is what you have to understand, that you can invoke whichever Devi you want, and that Devi, based on her character, will give you what you wish for. Correct? You must have seen so many speakers, you interacted with so many people. There are some who are very subtle, some who are very direct, some who are very aggressive, some who are very passionate, some were very egoistic also, but they all have something to give you. Now you have to have that benevolence and that intelligence to accept what suits you, what is going to work for you. And that is why the Navadurgas will give you different forms, and you can pick up what you like. You can make a choice. And that is, I think, the beauty of Sanatana Dharma, right? So we can't go on. That's Katyayani. You have Malinyai Swaha, that is her tantric mantra, and the basic Vedic mantra is Om Devi Katyayani Namaha. So you can, and of course Aim Hreem Kleem Chamundai Vichai can be commonly chanted for all forms of the Devis, whether they are Mahadashavidyas or the Navadurgas. Kalaratri, her complexion is dark and she rides a donkey. Now when you see different animals being projected as vahanas for the Durgas or for any other god, what does that tell you about our dharma? It says that we respect every single creation that is Shakti, So it depends on how you look at it. You will not even look and pet a donkey, but we have one of the most powerful Durgas sitting on a donkey. What does she represent? She represents that. What does a donkey represent? It represents tamasa, dark, and sitting, when she sits on it, she says that it is a dark that will destroy. What is dark? Ajnanata. Your ignorance gets destroyed. So you get destroyed. And how does my ignorance get destroyed? When I sit on that donkey. That means a donkey is not your thought about the donkey is thought. Your thought of putting the donkey in the Nyunatam Shreni, is donkey to a horse to an Airavat, is all Shakti. And when I can choose to sit on anything, and you have to understand that you are not educated enough for you to understand the meaning behind creation, behind people, behind and that is why our Sanatana Dharma basically respects everything that is alive. And it talks about in Ishavasya Upanishad, it says that this entire world, how are you using everything? Are you using or are you abusing? Ishavasyam Ridam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. That whatever, even the smallest dust particle, like I told you the story in the beginning, even the dust particle made the dance of Shakti. So that is why in Kalaratri, talks about ignorance. And she says that I am coming in front of you and I am telling you to worship me so that darkness can go away from the universe, right? So that's about Kalaratri. And then, of course, the stories of Chandamunda and Rakta Bija and all of that, because they're all part of our Puranic lineages, and how she took the Khadaga and she cut. And then about Rakta Bij, that this one drop would fall and another 3 Rakta Bijas would emerge, and then she would walk with that bowl and she'll collect all that blood and she'll drink all that blood. Basically just signifies that one bad thought will give birth to 4 bad thoughts. That's why they say that one truth is better than 100 lies, because you will have to keep lying and keep lying and keep lying. Ultimately you will have to say the truth, and that is what she represents. So she says that walk on this path and don't be scared to drink that blood, and that is what Kalaratri represents. Her Vedic mantra is Om Devi Kalaratri Namaha, and her tantric mantra is Hrim Yakshinyai, and it is Aim Hrim Kleem Chamundai Vichye. So it's ideally when you jump, it's Aim Hrim Kleem. So it's not, because in English we have that limitations. Aim Eki Matra Bindu Aim Hrim Kleem Chamundai Vichye. In many Kaula traditions, it's Aim Hrim Kleem Chamundai Vichye. So it depends on your guru, it depends on the diksha that you have received. Right? My diksha was Aim Hrim Kleem Chamundai Vichye. Aim Hrim Kleem Chamundai Vichye. Aim Hrim Kleem Chamundai Vichye. So it all depends, and I would always suggest that talk to a guru. And they say the guru is waiting for you, or they say that you are waiting for the guru. But I personally feel that every single day, every single person who comes across in our life is a guru. And there is a story about Dattatreya Bhagwan, and he has 24 gurus. And he says, nobody in this world who can teach me everything. So I'm going to have these many gurus. I will learn something from each guru. So if you have still not found a guru, or if the guru has not found you, everything that you're listening, reading, and absorbing is a guru. So just keep that in your mind. Use those things that are beneficial for you. Don't dwell into things that do not make any sense, and move on and become positive with whatever information that you get. And if your sadhana is right, if your intention is right, you will find the guru and the guru will find you. After Kalaratri is Mahagauri. Mahagauri is the more Saumya. She's done everything. Now look at a woman whose child has got married and, more time in her hand, and, she has more time to meditate, to take care of her experience. Her wisdom can actually help the other people in the family to move forward. In all our homes, we have a Bua ji or a Mausi ji or a Mummy ji or a Dadi ji or Nani ji who are like Mahagauri, and who has the wisdom to show you the right path. And that is why Mahagauri is the very Saumya Roop, very Saumya Swaroop of the Devi. And she's inspired by all her other Durgas, from Shailaputri to Chandraghanta to all of them. And she's sitting on a cow. What does a cow symbolize? Cow symbolizes Saumyata, nourisher. She is sitting on an animal that nourishes this entire world, right? And that is why she has a damru and a kamandalu. She says, so I can also give advice when I'm asked for with the damru, and I have a kamandal. The kamandal is the womb of the universe. I have the experience of holding everything, and that is why I am Mahagauri. So the Vedic mantra is Om Devi Mahagauri Ai Namaha. And then, of course, you have the Aim Hrim Klim Chamundai Viche, and then you have Klim Vashata Karinyai Mahagorayai Swaha. So that's about the Navadurgas. I've given very basic information about the Navadurgas, and these are the information that everybody knows. We are just doing a quick 101 run on it. Okay, the last one is the Siddhidatri. Okay? Siddhidatri is your last one. And they say that, this is the story that you have. Actually, I said it in the right at the beginning of the universe, Lord Rudra worshipped the unmanifested form of Mother Goddess Adi Parashakti for creation. And as Adi Parashakti, the Mother Goddess was pure energy and she had no form. That's why she goes into a dust. And thus, in the form of Siddhidatri, she appears from the left half of Shiva. That's why she's called Vamangi, coming from the left half of Shiva. So Siddhi means, Ashta Siddhi Navnidhi Data. So she means the supernatural power or the ability to achieve a sense of ultimate source of creation and existence. So when we talk about Siddhidatri, we talk about going back into the ashes. There's a last phase of our life. We've done everything and we need to become ash. And we become ash, and depending on our karma, we reach Shiva, we reach Kailashaloka, and we stay on his left side as a feminine energy. So this entire form of Navadurgas is about who we as women transition into, the qualities of the feminine, which even as a man that we experience. And that is why the Vedic mantra, Om Devi Siddhidatri Namaha. And then, of course, the last mantra, Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trayambike Gauri Narayani Namostute Klim Hrim Aim Home. So they lock that mantra when they talk about a tantric mantra. But otherwise, even if you just chant Om Devi Siddhidatri Namaha, it's more than enough. 21 times. You don't need to do the other two mantras. I've given you all three, but you can do even the first Vedic mantra. एक दिया जलाओ, एक अगरबत्ती जलाओ, 21 times भगवान के सामने बैठ के ये मंत्र का जाप करो, and you see how nice you feel, and you will suddenly see a lot of your blockages kind of getting cleared. How does that happen? Well, that's what the entire study on the Shakta is all about. And if you're interested in this, I hope you find a path which will take you further in its understanding. So that's about the Navadurgas. So this is the Sakta tradition. So we know about. So the Shakta tradition came much later. It was the Shaiva and the Vaishnava tradition that first came. And the Shakta tradition starts with Vaghamrani Devi. I think we have a slide on that. We talk about it in a minute. From the Vedic, before the Agama, because the Agamas were all very manasik pujas. There were very lot of smriti involved. Shruti and smriti. So the Agamas came before the Vedas were written. And the Shakta tradition came into prevalence during the time of Rig Veda. So if we say that we have a written text about 10,000-11,000 years before, where they found evidence of the written text. And so before that, at least another 25,000 years ago were the Agama traditions. And Agama traditions, during when we listen to our gurus and we listen to a lot of lectures, we come to know that the Agama traditions had the Smriti and Shruti element, and each of these devatas or each of these energies were discussed in a lot of length. And so first came the tantric goddesses, because they were Ugra Swarupa. They had a lot of energy that we would not be able to understand at this point in time, because obviously the universal energies also changed. And then they become very Saumya after the Shakta came in. So then they take a roop, like so Durga takes a form, Lakshmi takes a form, Rudrani takes a form. And then they were devised and, kind of put into proper compartments, with the Navadurgas being the very Vedic form of goddesses, and the Mahavidyas becoming the more tantric form of the goddesses. And Buddhism had a very important role in kind of bringing together the Mahavidyas and the Tantric Upasana together, right? So Shakta is now more and prevalent. In fact, in the Kali Yuga, they say that Shakti Puja is going to be the source of liberation for this entire world. So, and the wars that you see right now is all the Ugra Swarup of the Devi happening, where destruction will happen, and new grounds will be created for something more productive, more constructive to come together. Okay, we're going to go to the next next slide is the Devi Suktam. This is the first written evidence of the Devi, and this is, you can find it in the Rig Veda, and out of I think more than 1075 shlokas, there are only these 6 or 7 that was written by Bhagambrini. So you have Gargi, and you have all of these set of 4 or 5 scholars, women scholars, and they were known as Rishikas. And this is the poem that now it is of course being proved and people are reading about it and all of that. But the Agamas have always spoken about it. The Rishikas write it down in the Rig Veda. And she talks about everything that you can think about a woman. She talks about this woman seer, this woman sage, Rishika, stands up amidst all, so you can visualize all the rishis out there. She stands up and she says that, I am the Divine Mother. I am everything. I proclaim that I am Shakti. You are all nothing without me. Or, so just imagine, she says that I am the cosmic yoni. I am the Brahman. I am the light. From me, everything comes. In me, everything goes. So the Devi Suktam, if you've not heard it, it's beautifully written. You will find some very good translations of the Devi Suktam. It talks about simple things like how can you approach me as a mother? What are the kind of prostrations that you can do? How Tantric Upasana. In these 6 to 7 shlokas, everything comes. Because each word in Sanskrit is equivalent to 1 chapter in English, So it talks about surrender, it talks about tapascharya, it talks about, conquering, protection, nourishment, everything, right? So do read about the Devi Suktam and, how beautifully it is. It has been portrayed. In fact, if you search the Devi Suktam, you might get a lot of people who have talked about it on YouTube. So I would strongly recommend that you take it. Yeah, so there it is. It's the explanation. So she makes declaration, that you think the fire and gods are the rituals, but it is the ahankar. And all the gods you worship, they took my energy. So that is the story again we come off, where Shiva gets his third eye from.